Hi everybody and welcome to this week's Match Memories. A little bit cooler outside. It's quite overcast down here in Ash Vale this morning. Looks absolutely perfect for fishing. I've been out on the lakes early this morning and there's fish moving everywhere. Not a lot of wind. It was a real windy night last night, which has obviously rucked the water up and made them move around. But plenty of fish moving around, so I think there'll be some fish caught this morning, that's for sure. Just a few things. I booked in for Larford the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Just went there last week and really liked it on the Golden Reel. So I'm booked in for an open there Saturday and obviously another Golden Reel Sunday. That's all dependent on me getting my van back. For those of you that have watched these blogs, I did inform you that I'd reversed into a fence post down here. And what's turned into them needing it 4 days has turned into 6 and I've still not got it back. Been told that it will be tomorrow now. But again, I'm not holding my breath, and unfortunately if I don't get my van back I won't be going to Larford. I'll be fishing here. But anyway, that's by the by. So on to the match memories. Today I want to talk about another national. Again, it turned into be a very, very technical match on a venue that I have actually fished quite a little bit over the years. Just put my notes down there just so I get a few of the little tiny points. But it's a 2011 Division 1 National on the new Junction Canal. A fantastic venue in the fact that what I like when I look at a match venue is it regular, is it the same? You know, can I come up with a tactic that I can employ on every single peg? And, you know, although there might be, you know, an odd narrow bit or a wider bit, 99.9% of that canal, if you come up with a tactic, you can virtually use it on every peg. And again, the journey to the National started probably 4 weeks prior. We went up there on an open. I remember I travelled up with Steve Sanders. We didn't do too well, but there was a few fish around. And what was noticeable was the locals had definitely caught quite well. I remember Alan Scotland was just about 5 or 6 pegs to my right. I think I had about £4 and he had just under 7. So it's obvious that we didn't have it quite right. But again, you know, the team at the time, you know, the national and team fishing at the time was absolutely massive. We had anglers like Michael Buckwalder, Ian Didcott, Dave Harpin in the team. Just fantastic all-round anglers. And that's without the likes of, you know, Lee Edwards, Callum, Des, Stevie, myself, you know, Simon Willsmore, people like that. We really did have a fantastic team. And a few things were noticed in practice. Obviously there was an odd big fish. You had an odd big perch, an odd decent chub. These were more often than not around little bits of cover, but you could catch them in areas where you wouldn't really think that they were. But we came up with a plan to try and catch a kilo 400. So, you know, you're talking around, you know, that three and a bit pound mark, just to get yourself going and get yourself up in the section. Vitally important. That I'm just checking this because something's come up on the screen. There you go, sorted. Just didn't want it to it was just a warning light about light or something, but there you go. Not very technical minded with these sort of things, but we'll carry on. So like I say, we did come up with a plan where, you know, we were looking for that £3 that would get you those good section points. And that's what the team matches are about. It's not so much about winning these sections. Bearing in mind back then there was 59 teams. So they were big sections. So you're really looking to come in the top 20. If you could all do that, you know, you're going to have a point score that was going to be very, very hard to beat. So like I say, the practice sort of rolled on. And it's a long way for us down here. You know, it's 180 mile plus. So you're talking a good 7-8 hours a day driving. But, you know, back then with the team we had, and bearing in mind you're trying to qualify for the then fish off, that at the time Preston Innovations was sponsoring and giving £10,000 to the winning team to then go on to the World Club Championships, and that's what we wanted to do. We not only wanted to win the Division 1 National, but we wanted to make sure we were in the top 10 to be in the fish off. That year was on Newark Dyke on the Trent, which again is a venue that I've fished quite a lot. So anyway, back to the new Junction Canal. And an active dark ground bait seemed really good. Throwing the ground bait seemed good. Making noise definitely pulled fish into your peg. It's all little things, and we were all talking, we were meeting after the match, and anything that was noticed. And a few things did come to light. Like I say, a dark ground bait. At the time I used Census Roach, sieved off, the Noir one. So it's nice and dark, but very active. It's got a lot of ingredients in it, a lot of seeds. It's got a lot of crushed grilled hemp. That really bubbles and fizzes. And you've often heard me speak about the importance of coriander in your mix, dry coriander added to your mix, that gives it that extra little bit of activity that pulls fish into your peg. And this canal definitely like that, or the fish in the canal definitely like that. We're throwing in 6 to 8 balls at the bottom of the shelf. Again, a lot of it varied. And what you find is, as the practice goes on, and a lot of teams are taking this match really serious, and the fish seem to get, you know, a little bit hammered, fished for a lot, caught a lot, put in nets a lot, and the fish seemed to back off. And although there was quite a few roaching areas, you were really fishing for these small perch and odd roach. Double squat was good, double red squat was absolutely fantastic, but a few little things came to light. Obviously the dark active ground bait, loose feeding a volume of squats, but also flicking your rig out. And we're talking, it's quite a deep canal, up to 10-11 foot. Flicking your rig out, 0.6, 0.8 and a gram float, depending if it's moving. There's quite a little bit of boat traffic on there, but also fishing over depth. And that's something that I noticed one match in practice. I literally caught a few fish. Now, I can't exactly remember if the level went down because a lock opened or something, but I started catching really well. And I noticed that I was fishing over depth by about 3 to 4 inches. Probably added a little bit of stability to the bait. Like I say, it rocks around a little bit. And being quite open in a big venue, you know, for those of you that haven't been there, it's not a normal small canal. It's an actual big venue. But an absolutely beautiful place. So like I say, we found out these little things, and we were ultimately, unbelievably confident. The team that we had and the practice that we put in. But bearing in mind, we're up against some very, very good, not just local teams, but, you know, teams from all around the country that are very, very adept at catching these small fish. During practice, I didn't catch any big fish myself. Caught an odd, light, half-decent roach. Caught a couple of skimmers in one match. And I remember one practice match, again, I went up, I think with Steve Sanders, and I won my section with 5 pound 7, small roach and perch. Had a fantastic day. I was 1 from an end, but managed to win my section, and it all just clicked, this presentation. And you've heard me speak a lot in these about the importance of, you know, the 2 things that I put a lot of importance on. 1, you've got to feed it right, and 2, you've got to present it right. If you can do those 2 things, everything else will fit into place. Sounds simple, but it's not. There's a multitude of different ways to present your bait, and as you all know, there's a multitude of ways to feed. Different ground baits, soft, hard, dry, wet, you know, and there's lots and lots of things. But at the time with Dorking, the way the team was working, we were all experimenting, and the information coming back, you know, we'd all sit down in a circle and just like go round, and you'd each come out with the little points. I did this and I thought that was good. I mixed my ground bait like that. And you can imagine they always say, you know, two heads better than one. But when you've got 10 or 12 there of the top anglers in the country, it's very easy, or it's not easy, but it's a lot easier to come up with winning tactics. So come the match, we travelled up the night before, again, because it is a long way. You know, it's a good 3.5, 4 hours for us down here. And most of the team live, you know, some might live Bristol way, some might live, you know, towards London. But, you know, going up to that area, it's a good, you know, 160 to 190 miles for all of us. So come the match day, I drew my peg and I got there. And I was in the 400s somewhere. Forgive me for all the locals that know it like the back of their hand. But again, I don't know all the little, you know, the bridges and the parking areas and the names. But I was in the 400s, an area that I hadn't been before. I've actually drawn there in last year's national. about 15 pegs to the left. So it's amazing. I'd not drawn there in probably 10 or 12 matches I've been on, and then the last two nationals I was within probably 25, 30 pegs. So I get to my peg, and this is where things in fishing, you know, I look back on tiny, tiny little things that happen, and it does put a smile on your face. And again, in these match memories, I talk about things that will stick with me till you know, to the end. And what happened this morning was unbelievable. You're not setting up lots of gear. So basically the plan was to ball it on the long pole, looking for that shelf, anywhere between 10 and say 13 metres. We had an eel line long, some maggots, just bait, drop it in. We had a little perch line if you had a bit of depth in close, but on the national I had no depth at all. It was literally just enough water to get your net in. So that small fish line was, you know, out the window really. I did see an odd little fish top, so I was quite confident. And the pegs there, you know, for those of you again that haven't been there, all the canals in that area and the new junction in particular, you know, the pegging is fantastic. You know, the venue itself is just gorgeous. You know, it's wide. The pegs, you know, they go every other peg a lot of the time. But even if it's every peg, you've still got plenty of room and plenty of fish. But getting on to this little bit that happened, I was setting up, and you know when you see little fish top, it's like bloosh, bloosh, you can actually hear them. And I looked across, and opposite me, there was an odd tree, no real cover, but there was like a row of brambles, and the brambles were coming into the water, and it's probably 25 metres wide. And I remember I got my feeder rod out, and well, my straight lead rod out. So like I spoke about, you've got a little fish line, your main line on your pole, an eel line, and then we had, in areas where we knew there were bream, we had fished a little ground bait feeder, but areas where we knew there wasn't, we were fishing a straight lead and a piece of a lobworm for either a decent perch, an eel, maybe even a chub if you were lucky. 016 line, size 10 hook, you're not messing around, you're going to be fishing for big fish. So I've got all my gear set up, now I'm getting my bomb rod out, ready like that. And I can remember I was just looking across at these brambles, and this little tiny fish topped. And I was like, that, I'm sure, and again, I was trying to talk myself into, no, it wasn't. But this, what looked like a fish topped. But when I was looking, it almost looked like a fish's mouth coming out, like a decent fish. And I thought, I want to think that was a little fish, but my angling brain is telling me that was a decent fish, maybe a perch, a chub or whatever, came out and just took something off the surface. So, got my bomb rod out, set it up, stood there, and I've cast my bomb exactly where I saw this fish move, clipped it up, wound it in, put it down. Now the plan was, you know, and what had happened in practice in these harder areas, that you ball it in, start loose feeding, you catch a few fish to begin with and then it goes. And then that's your window of opportunity to have a look for either an eel or a bigger fish. So you can imagine now I've got this on my mind and I'm thinking as soon as those, you know, I've caught what I can catch on the pole, hopefully I catch close to £3, which I think will be good points, then I can have a look, and I can't wait to chuck this little bomb across with a lobworm. Size 11, 711 to 016, 5 double strength I was fishing at the time. So quite a strong, durable setup. Again, like I said, you could be hooking a £2 perch, a £3 chub, a £2 eel. You know, you don't want to fish too heavy so that you don't get that bite, but you want to fish heavy enough to give yourself a chance of landing that fish. So the match started. Like I say, 6 to 8 balls were deposited on the long pole line. Put a few maggots in with a bait dropper long. Didn't feed anything across, didn't want to feed anything. Dropped it in on the pole, started loose feeding, and at the time I was using the KC Carper Diamonds. Absolutely fantastic float, real fine bristle. You could shot them down. Stevie actually got them onto me in practice. I was using a Bazzarella float at the time, and I watched Stevie fishing in practice, and this float, this diamond, sat absolutely perfect. So I changed to them, as I quite often do. If I see something that I think's working well, I change. I'm not afraid to copy people, not afraid that people know that I'm copying them. You know, if something's obviously better, change, because it will improve your own fishing. And again, dropped it in, started catching an odd little perch. Like I say, double red squat was fantastic. I don't know why, but, you know, those little perch and odd little roach, absolutely loved it. Had a fantastic start, caught like 25, 30 fish. Caught a couple of like 4-ounce perch, which is a massive bonus. Kept loose feeding. It got to about halfway through the match, and I think I'd caught 50 odd fish, and I knew I had close to that £3, which was going to get me in the top 20. Couldn't wait to get on this lead. The eel line was just like, I fed it again, I think, with a small amount of maggots in a bait dropper. But that wasn't really on my radar. I wanted to get out because I was positive that I'd seen this fish top. Not top, but, you know, just sort of it almost looked to me like a decent perch or something, just coming up and taking a, you know, some kind of, you know, hatch off the surface, some kind of fly or something. So anyway, like halfway through, and it's quite open, and you can see nobody's really catching. The little fish have, you know, gone. You know, the window of opportunity to catch a few little fish has gone. But the window of opportunity to catch a big fish is just starting. And I can remember I picked my lead rod up, whole lobworm, just nipped the tail off, cast it across, it hit the clip right perfect, dropped in, it's quite deep. And as I put the rod down, it's just gone immediately like a carp, and I'm like, whoa. Picked the rod up, nothing there, never felt a thing, and it was a proper like 2-foot pull. Wound in, I'm like, I don't believe this. Looked at my worm, and it was absolutely chomped to pieces, and then straight away I'm thinking that was a chub. That was definitely a chub. It wasn't a little fish, just purely because how aggressive the bite was. That was a chub. New worm. Cast out, landing exactly the same place, put the rod down, and as I put the rod down, the rod's round, I've picked up, and I've had a chub about, I would say about £2.10. It wasn't quite £3. Fantastic bonus. Now I'm thinking, right, you know, I've got like, you know, proper weight now, absolutely relaxed, don't have to try and catch a few more little fish. I can really sort of dedicate my time to maybe even catching another one. Stayed on the bomb, and about half hour later, tip's gone round, picked up, and I've got it to the net, and it's a perch around £1.25. That came off, and I couldn't believe it. I can remember, like, I don't believe it. But literally 10 minutes later, I've had another bite on it, a perch about £1.25, and I'm still adamant to this day it was the same fish. And there's a few reasons that I think that. I think perch are quite territorial when they get to that size, but also afterwards I never had another sign. I literally just sat there trying to catch another decent fish, never had another sign. I weighed in just over 3 kilos, which was, you know, really, really happy with that. Although I'd got a bit lucky with a couple of bonus fish, but I'd also, you know, I'd worked out roughly what I'd caught of small fish, and that would have been, you know, well in the top 20. Ended up winning my section. Which, you know, was fantastic. It's the first time I'd won a section in the Division 1 National. I'd been second before, and I'd got individual medals, but I'd never won my section, so absolutely fantastic. Arriving back at HQ, I'd spoken to Stevie on the phone, who'd had a real good day. Drawn an MPEG. I think it was, I've got it written down here, I'm sure he was in A section. Yeah, A59. But again, Stevie, you know, you can tell when he clicks with the venue, a bit like some of the other lads, he's going to do well wherever he draws. He actually had 4 kilo 300. Spoke to him on the phone, which amazingly enough for a brilliant venue like this was enough to win the match. I know Stevie was, you know, completely made up. And as we were sharing the money, I was quite happy myself too. So, you know, but I ended up winning my section. Stevie won the match and his section, more importantly. Dave Harpin, fantastic angler. He won his section that day. And as the team came back, it was like, yeah, I've had, you know, 2 kilo, I've had 1 kilo 800, I've had 2 kilos. And the team came back, and it's like, wow, you know, like we, you know, we could win this. And when the presentation came, you know, second, you know, like they do in the national, the build up, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, got to second, it wasn't us, and it's like, and first, Daiwa Dorking. Fantastic result. Like I say, not only was it brilliant for Stevie to win individually, but the team to win, absolutely brilliant. But also that qualified us to the fish off on Newark Dyke. And again, in true Dorking fashion, We put in a lot of work, a lot of practice, and we managed to win that. And we actually went on to the World Club Championships in Cabassau in Portugal. We finished third, got the tactics a little bit wrong. We were catching on long whips, but the fish went down, these small bleak. There was a very odd carp. But again, you know, we got it slightly wrong. But we finished third, so we got a bronze medal. Brilliant time away with the team again. Lovely place to go, Portugal. But yeah, that was reflecting on a national where, you know, tactics really, you know, some matches you go on, you're almost left to your own devices. Right, there you go, you're a good angler, go and catch what you can from there. But this particular match was all about the tactics. It was a method water, and that's why teams like, you know, Barnsley and that do really well on these venues, because, you know, they've got 10 or 12 fantastic anglers that can all go there and do exactly the same. And that's why these teams are hard to beat. But a brilliant result for us. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It's a match that really does stick in my memories, just purely because, you know, it was a venue where there's a lot of local experts, and for us to go there, put the work in and win, it was absolutely fantastic. And also to see Stevie winning the national individually was brilliant. So I'm out this weekend, like I say, depending on my van. Hopefully they're going to ring me. I'll check my phone when I've done this. Hopefully they're going to ring me today, but I have been told that I should be getting the van back tomorrow. If that is the case, you'll see me at Larford Saturday and Sunday. Can't wait. It's fishing really well, and the matches are run so professionally up there by Phil and his team. You know, we're still in the COVID sort of, you know, you have to be safe, keep your distance, and it's just so nice when you go to these fisheries that take it, you know, very seriously. The social distancing and everything else, they do the weighing in for you. I can't praise them enough. Just a couple of little things to finish on. It's going to be very hot this weekend, so if you are out match fishing, definitely get yourself a couple of mugging rigs, a couple of swinging rigs. You'll be seeing a lot of decent fish, especially on these commercials, and you can just swing at them. A lot of people tend to favour like white dumbbells, like I say, meat, which is a light colour. Get yourself some little red pellets, 6 and 8 mil. Red seems to be a fantastic colour just for swinging at these fish. And the key is, when you see these fish swimming along, not to put it right on their nose, but just to put it, anticipate where they're going to be. That's what I was looking for, anticipation. That was the word. Where they're going to be, and anticipate, and just plop your pellet around about 1.5 foot to 2 foot in front of them. If they don't take it, again, but one little tip, and I've been doing quite a bit of this, is keep your float quite a way away from your bait, about 14 inches. The float does seem to spook them sometimes, and if you fish like 4 or 5 inches deep, as you swing your bait, your float then cocks on top of your bait, and they don't seem to like that. Set it 14 inches deep, so when you swing your bait at the fish, your float's well away. Spooks a lot less, and you're definitely going to catch more. Well done to my best mate Callum yesterday, qualifying for Maver Match this. Fantastic result. £170 I think at Hayfield, winning the match quite easily. And he deserves that purely because the amount of miles he does, a bit like all of us, you know, we all travel a lot, but a fantastic result. He's in the final next September, so I'll be sitting with him if I'm not away on the World Champs. Hopefully the World Champs goes ahead. But fantastic result for Cal. He's actually coming on the Golden Reel. Well, we're both at Larford Saturday and Sunday, so the form he's in, we could probably see him qualifying for that too. So wherever you go this weekend, just remember it's going to be hot. Keep your bait in the shade, keep yourself nice and cool, take plenty of cool drink, and look for those fish cruising, because there'll definitely be a few to be caught. As far as my weather forecast is concerned, in the south of England, there's not too much wind, so I wouldn't put too much sort of emphasis on the wind as far as you go. Try and sit in the middle of the lake where you'll get a lot of these cruisers coming past. And remember those red pellets, because red definitely seems to be the colour for dobbing these fish. So like I say, wherever you go and whatever matches you're on, good luck, hope you do well and have fun, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.